Craftsman Days are here at Lowe's with big savings on the tools you need. Save $100 on the Craftsman V20 6-Tool Power Tool Combo Kit, now at $199. No matter what the project is, Craftsman's high-quality, high-performance products empower you to build on. Stop by your nearest Lowe's store and check out the full line of Craftsman tools today. Valid through 6/18 while supplies last. Selection varies by location.
This is Cashing Out on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Hour number 3 of Cashing Out right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, and we've got an absolutely tremendous hour coming up for you as we're going to be joined in 15 minutes by Colby Dant. He does a great job over at the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. He's able to talk a little bit of everything. If it's a professional football league out there in the world, because he's a international man when it comes to some of his football action, he becomes a very good CFL handicapper, as I have found out in past years as well. He's going to be joining me. We're going to be talking on that front. He does a great job on the college baseball front as well, which that's really reaching a fever pitch. The road to Omaha this year is going to be tremendous. I know that the SEC, the ACC, really producing some great baseball right now, so we're going to be chatting about that with him and so much more. And then we've got ourselves playoff action that's going to be happening on this Friday. We've got that in terms of the NBA and the NHL. We're going to be hitting upon that here in just a second. We've got ourselves all 30 teams in Major League Baseball, 16 games in total. Right now, that game number 2 in terms of Boston versus Baltimore, that's very much off the board. And I know there are many people that they don't like to bet game number 2 of the doubleheader before they see game number 1 anyway. So not too much loss there, but still, we've got really good action on that front. So how about if we do dive in and start out with that playoff game that we're going to be seeing between the New York Knicks and the Indiana Pacers. And that is right now a line of 5.5 to 6 with the New York Knicks being a favorite. Total has been moving around a little bit. Right now it's about a 225, 225.5, and I would be looking a little bit more towards the under. Now we actually saw that game number 1 total bet down to about 221, 221.5, so it's a little bit of a tick up after what we saw towards the back half of game number 1, but I still do think that it's a little bit correlated. If you're liking a little bit more of the under, you're probably liking the New York Knicks. If you're liking a little bit more of the over, you're liking the Indiana Pacers, and that was very much a case in game number 1, so I'll give myself a little bit of a shout out there. That's something that I was calling for throughout on this, but still, with the New York Knicks, I do think that they're going to be able to bounce back, have a little bit of better effort, but this is a handicap that comes into the psychology a little bit of what you're going to be able to expect from the New York Knicks. Are the New York Knicks going to be soul crushed? Are they going to be wallowing, thinking, man, we let this one go into the abyss, poor us for Tyrese Halliburton having one of the luckiest shots of all time, which it was one of the luckiest shots of all time. Like, the way that thing was a wounded duck, as I like to call it. Like, you always like to call it various things with regards to just a off-kilter shot. That, in my opinion, it deserves the phrasing of a wounded duck. It somehow, some way is able to go into the basket, and you have to wonder if the New York Knicks are feeling crestfallen there, but I think that they're going to be able to bounce back. I think that this team is going to be able to take on the identity of their coach in Tom Thibodeau. He's like the ultimate grinder, a guy that's always going to be able to give you his all. He's always going to show up to work and be prepared, so I think that that's something that is going to be working to the New York Knicks' favor here, but this is a line that in game number 1, you saw that close right around about a 4, 4.5, and now we're up to 5.5, 6. That's very much believing in the zigzag theory, and I am a little bit of a believer in it. Like, I do think that you're going to be able to find a better effort from the New York Knicks here, but it's not even necessarily that. I just don't think that the Indiana Pacers can get as lucky as they did in game number 1. They were able to shoot north of 41.5% from three-point range in game number 1 with Aaron Nesmith going 8 of 9 from three-point range, and maybe there are some people are having the angle that I am, that he just can't be able to shoot the same way in game number 2, but it's always interesting because you're probably going to have a lot of people are going to be betting against his player prop in terms of the, shall we say, more professional side of things. Meanwhile, the more, shall we say, public bettor, typically, they're going to be looking a little bit more to overs. They're going to be looking more to, hey, this guy had a really good game number 1. I think that he's going to be able to duplicate that in game number 2. So that's always something that you want to take a look at in terms of prop market. And I'm going to call it what it is with regards to a lot of these props. You find someone on Twitter/X with a big following. If they post up something, typically that line is going to be on the move, and it's going to be on the move in a hurry. So that's something that you do want to be mindful of. But I'd be looking at quite a few unders from the guys that overachieved in game number 1. Like, I do look at a guy like a Therese Halliburton just not being able to duplicate that shot to be able to force overtime, but being able to have that north of 30-point performance. I think that he's going to be solid. He's going to be able to deliver just a bit of everything, though. I don't think that's just going to be scoring. He does a nice job of being able to distribute the ball. He does a nice job of being able to help you out on the boards as well. So I think that his game is going to be a little bit more well-rounded, a little bit less just scoring in general. And I did think that things slow down after what we saw in game number 1. I am very much more of an in-game bettor with regards to the NBA. I'm going to be looking to see, all right, which of these teams goes down by quite a few points? Because for the Indiana Pacers, they were down 7+ points in the final 50 seconds of either regulation or overtime 3 times already in the postseason, and have been able to pull off 3 of those wins. Obviously, game number 1 against the Pacers was number 1, but they found themselves in a game like that against the Milwaukee Bucks. I can't remember if that was like game number 4, game number 5, but that was towards the back half of the series, and that did salt that one away. And then they had a series like that, or a game like that in the series that they played against the Cleveland Cavaliers as well. They were in, I believe it was overtime, 45 seconds remaining. They're down 7 or so points, and they find a way to be able to get the job done. And for the New York Knicks, it's been a little bit more like a fourth quarter sort of effort, because they had those 2 games against Boston where they get down 20+ points, and then they're able to claw their way back. They play some tough, tenacious defense. So I do think that this is a very interesting handicap here. Like I said, a little bit more of an in-game bettor for myself. I'm going to be betting the team on the spread that falls down quite a few points, because both of these teams have shown that there is no quit in them. They do a really good job of being able to rally, and I think that that's a good way of being able to go about it. Like, I don't think that you need to get super duper cute here, and if your opportunity doesn't come, your opportunity doesn't come. With regards to NBA in-game betting, you just have to sort of accept that. There are some games where you're going to have a lot of in-game bets. You're going to be liking what you see. You feel like you've got a great grasp on the game. If you feel like you don't have any sort of a grasp on the game, don't force up that action, though. I think that that's very important in this ordeal. So I'm going to be willing to take a shot here on the under at a 225.5. Right now, with regards to the spread, that's a little bit TBD. That depends upon who gets down in that game, and being able to get down on great bets without any juice, that's over at ProfitX. The NBA playoffs, they are heating up, and our partnership with ProfitX is offering the best odds all playoff long, because over at ProfitX, it's a peer-to-peer exchange, so that way you don't have to have anything taken out by the books, and you'll be able to make your sports picks right away from other groups of fans, and you're able to as well just take a look at that, and you're able to bet them to be able to save 10 to 20% on the best odds, because you don't have to deal with any of the juice. You're not having to fight against the sports books. You're able to request your own odds as well. And when you download ProfitX, utilize that promo code of VSIN, VSIN. That'll earn you $200 in profit cash over your first month. As it is Greg Oops Peterson right now on Cashing Out on VSIN, the Sports Betting Network, holding it down for Joe Sorrell tonight. And with regards to the NHL front as well, I think that is very interesting what we're seeing over there, because we saw the Carolina Hurricanes just get absolutely lambasted by the Florida Panthers 5-0. And if you're taking a look at that game number 3, I just don't think that this is necessarily a big enough line for the Florida Panthers. For the Florida Panthers, right now you're finding them right around about a -140 or so. I feel like they should be a little bit more demonstrative favorite, because they were slight underdogs in game number 1 and game number 2 against the Carolina Panthers, or the Carolina Hurricanes. I keep thinking, man, it's like the Florida Panthers, the Carolina Panthers. You get a lot of Panthers, a lot of Hurricanes between these two states, but you know what? You've got yourself the Florida Panthers who will be able to go out there and just completely dominate in general, and I just think that that's going to be the same way. 14 straight losses for the Carolina Hurricanes with regards to this round of the playoffs. I just don't see that turning around. They've got very big home and road splits as well. Like, this is a team that if they were going to get the job done, they were going to be doing it at home. They have been relatively shaky with regards to road performances, to say the least, especially here in these playoffs. And Sergei Bobrovsky, right now looking like one of the best players on the face of planet Earth. He had himself a really nice game number 1 where he only gave up 2 goals on north of 33 shots there. Came out here, he was able to get that game to shut out as well. So been very impressed there. And Matthew Tkachuk has been able to do a nice job as well, being able to put the biscuit in the basket for the Florida Panthers. I just think that with the Carolina Hurricanes, it's just, how do you come back from being down 0-2, having the home and road splits that you do have, and just knowing the history of everything as well? I don't think that they are going to be able to do so, and I think that the Florida Panthers are going to be able to take this one. And then if you're looking more at the game that we're going to be seeing here on Friday, Edmonton going to be taking on Dallas. Dallas They were down 3-1 going into the third period, and they were able to claw their way back in this one. And if you're looking at parallels between the NBA and the NHL playoffs, it feels like you've got one series in which whichever team is down, you just have a belief that they're going to be able to come back. You certainly have that in Oilers versus Stars with what these two teams have been able to show here in the postseason. And then you've got that in terms of on the NBA front, the Indiana Pacers and the Boston Celtics series, or the Indiana Pacers and also the New York Knicks series. And then with the other series, the OKC Thunder just looking very dominant against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Meanwhile, the Panthers just completely dominating the Hurricanes. But that said, right now with the Dallas Stars, they're about a -118, -125 or so favorite, and I would be looking at them in this ordeal just because I don't believe in Stuart Skinner. Like, it's a very simple handicap for me in terms of the NHL because I don't necessarily do a ton of NHL, but when you get a hot goalie, you want to be able to ride them, and when you don't have that hot goalie, you fade them a little bit. And Jake Oettinger has been, throughout his playoff career, a little bit hit or miss, but feels like he's been able to come up with some good performances here recently. That third period against the Oilers, in which the Oilers, well, they got oiled up. They give up the 5 goals in the third period, just very much less than tremendous there. I think that puts them in a little bit of a rough ordeal here. And I do think that with the Dallas Stars team, just with the way that they've been able to mix and match, they've been dealing with playoff injuries all postseason long. The Avalanche series that really allowed them to be able to find some more, shall we say, rotations, just be able to find their combinations that they want in general. I think that that's very big. I think that that's going to be paying dividends moving forward. So we'll be looking at the very slight favorite with the Stars there, and we're going to be looking at this favorite as well. So you've got a lot of baseball action that's going to be going down on Friday. You've got all 30 teams in general that are going to be hitting the ball diamond, and this is a team that you're going to be finding in that neighborhood about a -116 to a -122 favorite. That'd be the Pittsburgh Pirates going against the Milwaukee Brewers with Freddie Peralta on the bump for the Brewers. And if time allows, I'll dive in on this a little bit more, but I do like this total under for the Pittsburgh Pirates. First time in their last 27 games being able to exceed 4+ runs in a game. And for the Brewers, it's been a little bit suspect in terms of what you've been able to get out of that lineup as well. It's been a little bit hit or miss, so going to be taking a look at that total under. And coming up next, what we're taking a look at is a great chat with Colby Dant of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now. And the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Grainger, because we have professional-grade supplies for every industry, even hard-to-find products. And we have same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. But most importantly, we have an unwavering commitment to help keep you up and running. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Welcome back to Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
We're back here on Cashing Out on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Always great to be joined by this band on the Progressive Guest Line. We've got Colby Dant aboard. He does such great work over at the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Taking a look at a bit of everything. Does the show, The College Experience. He also covers every single football league on the face of planet Earth. I mean, it's absolutely incredible. Whether that be the CFL, the UFL, NFL, what have you. Colby, it's always great to get you aboard. Thank you so much.
Oh, thanks for having me, and it's good to see you again, brother. And, even in the off season of college hoops, it's still a lot of action out there.
Oh, absolutely. I know that you and I have been taking a look at the transfer portal quite a bit, all those NBA draft decisions, so always a lot of fun there. And with regards to what we've got in terms of the United Football League, it always keeps us on our toes before we get into college basketball, before we get into college football as well. So that is very, very big. And how about if we take a look at the game that's going to be happening on Friday? Because you've got the St. Louis Battlehawks taking on the San Antonio Brahmas. And right now with the Battlehawks, you're finding them in a lot of places right around about a 6.5 point favorite. That total is landing right around about 42.5. And when it comes to the San Antonio Brahmas, how do you take a look at them? Because they've been such an intriguing team over the last few years in the UFL. And it feels like it's one of the toughest teams to really be able to gauge.
Yeah, and specifically this year, I would say with Wade Phillips, the legendary NFL defensive coordinator, son of Bum Phillips. He's had some health issues, so he stepped down, and Peyton Pardee has taken over for him. But they've just kind of they've never been able to get on the same page consistently in this league, and you're going to see it again tomorrow night with Kellen Mond getting the start at the quarterback spot. This is the guy that got the first couple starts of the season, but hasn't played very well. I think the best play. I mean, St. Louis, the league has done everything they can to make sure that they can solidify their playoff spot, which they did, and that they play so many home games. The league kind of helps them out, I feel like, but Max Duggan, the old TCU quarterback's done a good job there, and stepping in. You know, he was the backup quarterback and came up via injury to Manny Wilkins, and the offense has played very well, especially on the ground. The top rushing team in the league. I think I like laying that number, but I think the best play on the board for this game specifically, I think, is the under. Because Duggan has struggled to throw the ball in the air, and then San Antonio's offense has been a mess. They've had multiple games with just a field goal as their only score in the game.
Yep, it's been really interesting to see what we've been able to get on that front end. I like that call there because Duggan, he has been so inconsistent, and we had a pair of inconsistent offenses in this one as well. That's why this is the lowest total on the card. This is going to be the Saturday morning game, the Arlington Renegades and the Memphis Showboats. Showboats are... They're showboating about the fact that they're 4.5-point underdogs. Total on this game is 40.5. How do you take a look at this one with a Renegades team that they find themselves as a road favorite?
Yeah, I know. I love the Renegades here. You know, they should probably be in the playoffs. They have the third-rated offense and the third-rated defense, but they are eliminated. A lot of close calls went against them. Bob Stoops, you know, obviously one of the better coaches in the league, I think, from a resume point of view. And Luis Perez is an experienced quarterback in this spring leagues, and I mean that's half the battle. I feel like I love this spot. Memphis has been much in the same vein as San Antonio. You know, Ken Wisenhunt steps down, Jim Turner walks in. Quarterback situation's been a mess. EJ Perry's getting the start. I don't think it's going to work out well for them. One of my favorite plays on the board is Arlington there, and I also do like the under in this one as well.
Yep, and then with the Burlington Stallions, they've been just really good in the UFL ever since they really repurposed it a few seasons ago. Right now, 2.5-point favorites against the Michigan Panthers, and with the Panthers, they've been one of the more intriguing teams as well ever since we've seen this revamped format. How do you take a look at this one, with this being the tightest line of the week?
Yeah, and it's cross zero, so intriguing. Bryce Perkins, who might be the league MVP this year, as quarterback of the Michigan Panthers, has been ruled out. So I think that's probably why you've seen the line movement go to Birmingham's favor. And Birmingham, Jamar Smith, was working at Dunkin' Donuts a couple weeks ago. He steps in, plays well, and he played for Skip Holtz in college at Louisiana Tech, so he's been familiar with this offense 7 or 8 years now. That's why I love the angle of taking Birmingham. First off, Michigan, since they brought back the UFL teams, Michigan's, I think, 0-8 against Birmingham. So give me the Stallions at home to solidify that one seed in the playoff race there to get things done. Skip Holtz is the best coach in this league.
From Dunkin' Donuts to Dinkin' and Dunkin'. I absolutely love it right there. That's some good, clean family fun with Colby Dant, who does such great work over at the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, joining me on Cash It Out on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. And then the late game that we're going to be seeing on this Sunday. This will be the last one for the UFL week. DC Defenders, Houston Roughnecks. Roughnecks right around about 4-point underdogs. Total on this game is 46. How do you land on this one, especially in a week in the UFL where we got a little bit of oddity? This is the third of the 4 teams that are home underdogs with regards to the Houston Roughnecks.
Yeah, and the first 3 games I like the under. I think this is the one you buy stock in the over. But I think if you're looking for the dog, it's right here. DC's already clinched. They got nothing to play for. Houston... I don't know how they keep losing these games. Last week they had over 200 yards of offense, more than their opponent, but yet lost by double digits, which is almost like impossible to do with a running clock, which this league has. But McClendon, their quarterback, their third stringer, ever since they've went to him about 4 or 5 weeks ago, he's been one of the better quarterbacks in this league. I think there's going to be points in this game. I think they are live to take down DC, and give me the over. I love this play.
I absolutely love it as well. And if you're taking a look at anything on the futures board for the UFL, is there anything that's catching your attention? Because you mentioned it, there are already a few teams that have already clinched for the UFL. So some of these games, they've got a little bit more, shall we say, situational and circumstantial value / lack of value. And I know you do a great job of being able to slice through this league. Any teams that really stand out that might be worth a futures play as of now?
Yes, I would still say first off, you have your playoff situation pretty much figured out. The Birmingham Stallions, I think, are I think I saw them at plus 325 or plus 375 earlier today. You're getting the best coach with experienced quarterbacks, and they're getting healthier. I know they've had 5 different starting quarterbacks this year. That's probably why their record's not as good as the previous 3 years where they've won the championship every year. But to me, to get the value in to me the best actual coach in this game who makes in-game adjustments. Half the battles in the spring leagues, you get some first-time coaches that there's a reason why they're 50, 60 years old that haven't been first-time coaches, and no disrespect to them, but I'm just saying in-game adjustments is not their forte, whereas Skip Holtz has been a head coach for a long time, man, back in the 90s at UConn when it started. So I think that's a leg up there. I think the fact his quarterback that we just joked about has been in his offense for a long time, which in these spring leagues, continuity is very important because you get so much turnover every year for players trying to go to the NFL or the CFL or whatever league or retire. I think the Stallions are a team with some great value right now.
Yep, I absolutely love it, and we're going to be seeing what we're going to be getting on that front as well, and I think that we've got ourselves some great UFL action that's going to be coming up here this week, and moving forward, that championship is going to be so stunning, and I do have to ask you about this, because you and I, at our core, we are both hoops junkies. We do a lot more with regards to college basketball, obviously, a little bit more than the NBA, but how have you been slicing through these NBA playoffs? Because I do think that there has been a lot of good live betting opportunities, and it's something that I've been referring to rather than taking a look at something like we've got on Friday, the Pacers and the New York Knicks, that just revenge match for the New York Knicks to be able to try to atone for what happened on Wednesday. But that said, I think that this is going to be a sort of a circumstantial game where you take a look at what's happening early, and the team that goes down early, you're able to find some good value on them to be able to bet them live.
Yeah, I feel like in this day and age of the NBA, it's a game of runs, much more than it was, 15, 20 years ago. I feel like, well, first you do I have to take the Knicks in the spot after the way they lost the other night. I feel like you just have to take them, but you probably do want to wait, probably get the best value of taking the Knicks if the Pacers get out to an early lead, which is certainly possible. You've seen it so many times in the NBA playoffs over the past few years where, a team gets down and then, okay, no problem. Let's just make a run. So it's something to always pay attention to. It's to compare it to our terms of college hoops. I know we're both junkies. It's like playing at the Fog with Kansas. Whenever they go down, that they're going to come back up and get that win at some point. So you pay attention to that. Team down 12, no problem. I feel like in the NBA these days. But I like the Knicks in that game mainly. You lose the way you lose. And now you're in kind of a critical spot. Most Knicks fans were saying sweep. I like them in the spot, but I do think wait. Don't take the -6 now. In game, you're going to be able to get a better number, and I think but by the end of it, you'll be okay.
And that's been a big takeaway for me for the entirety of the postseason. Like, if you've been betting Pacer games all throughout the postseason, if you've been taking them live, you've been able to get some good numbers. We recall the Knicks and that series against the Boston Celtics as well. And what we always get great value on live is having you aboard, Colby. You do such great work over at the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, and always do appreciate it. Thank you.
Anytime. Appreciate you having me, guys.
Always great to be able to have Colby aboard. Wealth of knowledge with regards to all things football, all things basketball. And coming up next, how about if we do go from the hardwood and the gridiron on out to the ball diamond? We've got all 30 teams in Major League Baseball in action, and we'll break that down next on Cashing Out on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Welcome back to Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
And we're back here on Cashing Out on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. It was great to be joined by Colby Dant, who does such great work over at the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, taking a look at little UFL, talking a little bit of NBA with him as well. Typically, when we talk basketball with him, it's a bit more on the college basketball front, but he does a great job on so many different fronts, so always great to be able to get him aboard. Big thanks to Colby for joining me in the last segment. Now let's take a look at what we're getting in terms of the MLB front, because we've got ourselves all 30 teams in action, and we do have ourselves a really, really good slate for this Friday. And what I think has been really interesting about the MLB season thus far is that you've had a really big just binge of unders, and especially recently. Typically when you think of just baseball in general, you think, all right, late May, things are starting to heat up, ball's going to be starting to fly a little bit more, and that has really not been the case over the last 7 days of Major League Baseball. 54 unders to 36 overs. That's a 60% hit rate to the under, and favorites have really been drying up, by the way. How about 47 and 46 on the money line in the last 7 days? If you've done nothing but bet underdogs, yeah, you're one game below 500, but you're getting those plus money lines, you're doing yourself very, very well. And let me just go a little bit further. Underdogs that aren't the Colorado Rockies are above 500. So you can eliminate that underdog. Even they were able to get one win over the Arizona Diamondbacks about 6 or so days ago. So yay, verily there. But yep, if you've been taking a look at all underdogs, not named the Rockies, you've been able to make yourself some money. And overall for the season, the under rate is right around 53% in Major League Baseball. And if you're wondering why the under rate is so good in Major League Baseball right now, this team has been a big reason why. How about the Texas Rangers? They are going to be on the road facing off against the Chicago White Sox with Sean Burke going for the Southsiders. Tyler Mahle is on the bump for Texas. And right now with Texas, you're going to be getting them in that neighborhood about a minus 180 or so, plus 160 to plus 165 is that number on the White Sox. If you're looking at that run line of the Texas Rangers, you're going to be finding that more in the neighborhood about a minus 110. And with the Texas Rangers, I would be willing to take a shot on them on the run line just because I have a belief in Tyler Mahle. Tyler Mahle, when he was with the Cincinnati Reds, when he was last, I would say fully healthy, 2019 season, he was one of the best road pitchers that you were able to find in all of baseball. Last few seasons has been all sorts of banged up. He had that trade where he went to the Minnesota Twins, didn't necessarily work out over there, but he's been able to find himself a new home with a Texas Rangers team that now 15 overs, 35 unders, and a push this far this season. So they've been very good to the under. Not even like they've been the most amazing bullpen, though you've had a few guys who you've been able to mix and match with. I really like what I'm seeing out of Robert Garcia right now. He's been able to give you some good innings out there in the bullpen. You've had Hobie Milner be able to come in there, hold down the fort. You've got my guy, Caleb Belsley from the great city of Hortonville, Wisconsin as well. So nice, clean fun there. And then on the flip side, you've got yourself a bunch in the Chicago White Sox that just been all sorts of rough for them this season. And I am a believer in this when it comes to baseball, especially. If you are on a bad team, sometimes the stink just permeates into you. And that's what we've seen out of Andrew Vaughn and Luis Robert, because these are guys that you'd think individually they're pretty good baseball players, but on this team they just haven't been able to give you a big giant nothing burger. Both of these guys stuck on 5 home runs, both of these guys hanging just below the Mendoza line of a 200. You've had Andrew Benintendi being on the injured list. Lennon Sosa has actually been able to give you a little bit of something as well, but it's not been necessarily too effective for them. Now the good news for Sean Burke is that he gets to face off against a Texas Rangers team that has one of the lesser lineups in all baseball, and Burke, he is the starter for the Chicago White Sox, who is hanging up a little bit north of 4 ERA. Doesn't give you a lot of swings and misses. He's giving you fewer than 7 strikeouts per 9 innings. Walk rate is relatively high, but for the Texas Rangers, who's really hitting the ball for you? You did have Jake Berger hit a home run in that series against the New York Yankees. That's a relatively good sign for you, but Marcus Semien is hitting below the Mendoza line of 200. Adolis Garcia, ever since that World Series run, he just hasn't necessarily been himself. Hitting like a 225, not really even giving you a lot of power as well, so that's been an issue in Jock Peterson, man. I used to like Jock Peterson, too. Jock Peterson used to consistently move line. Just last year with the Arizona Diamondbacks, he was pretty solid. This year has been anything but that, so that's a big, giant issue that you've had for the Texas Rangers team. And for the Chicago White Sox, it's just a case where the bullpen is very much hit or miss with them as well. You don't know what you're going to get out of these likes of Frazier Allard, Cam Bouger. These guys are posting up north of 5 ERA. Jordan Leisure has actually been relatively okay in that bullpen, but I do think that Mahle just going to give you a whole heck of a lot better start than Sean Burke here. And with the Texas Rangers, you just have to continue to believe in the unders, because no matter what the matchup has been, no matter what the situation has been, they have been cashing those unders all season long. So I'd be willing to lay up to about a -114 with regards to this run line of the Texas Rangers. So I'm going to be looking there, and I do like this total under. I just couldn't bring myself to setting this total at a full 8 with the way that the Rangers have been performing, as it is cashing out with myself, Greg Hughes Peterson, right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. What else is performing very well? That'd be everything here at VSiN Pro. Typically, with regards to our VSiN Pro subscriptions, we charge about $20 a month. With this special, you're going to be saving a whole bunch of money, because instead of charging you $240 for 12 months, we're going to trim off $41, so that brings it down to $199, and then you get an additional 2 months. So you're getting 14 months of VSiN for $199. That's less than 50 cents a day. Daily best bet emails with all of our VSiN shows and guest picks, real-time betting splits from DraftKings and Circa, 24/7 video access, and then full access to VSiN.com's analytics, website write-ups, and so much more, including mine that are up there every single day on the baseball front. That's over at VSiN.com/subscribe. Type in the promo code PRO to be able to get this subscription. VSIN.com/subscribe. Promo code PRO. How about if we take a look at this game, because we do have ourselves a lot of intrigue with regards to the National League front in terms of this baseball Friday as well, and we have yet to hit upon the Washington Nationals and the San Francisco Giants, with it being Landon Roop hitting the bump for the San Francisco Giants, and Mackenzie Gore goes for Washington. Relative pick'em game. Right now, the Giants very slight favorites, as high as a -112. I'm seeing as low as about a -106. Meanwhile, for the Nationals, as high as a -110, as low as a -103. And that total is a 9 in some spots, 8.5 for in others, or I should say 8 currently in a lot of spots with regards to this total, shaded down a bit to the under. And for the San Francisco Giants, I'm going to be willing to take a very small shot here on them. I did set them at a -111, so as long as we're able to get a -110 or better with Landon Roop, he's been giving out a few too many walks, about 3.5 walks per 9 innings, but gives up less than a home run per 9 innings. And what I really like about the San Francisco Giants team, the bullpen advantage that they've got, because the Washington Nationals, you've had a little bit more production out of this bullpen. Cole Henry has been able to give you a sub-4 ERA. You've had Jackson Rutledge, Kyle Finnegan be relatively okay in this bullpen, but other than those three guys, pretty much everyone else is rocking north of 5 ERA. For the Washington Nationals, that bullpen ERA is hovering right around about a 6 thus far this season. Meanwhile, for the San Francisco Giants, they've been, for much of the season, #1 in all of baseball in terms of that bullpen ERA. Even with Spencer Bivens being a little bit hit or miss as a bit of a long guy for this team, you've got the likes of Tyler Rogers, Eric Miller, who've been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. Camilo Duvall is starting to look like Camilo Duvall of old again. And for the Giants, they've been having a few issues with regards to this lineup, as you've got Luis Matos, who has had a tough time being able to find a way on base. Willie Adames, just expected a little bit more out of him after they signed him in the offseason. But even with that, this has been a Giants team that's been very rock solid. They're a part of an NL West where I don't think that you're going to be able to get 4 teams into the playoffs from the NL West, just because whoever doesn't win that NL East with the race that's going on down there, the Philadelphia Phillies have obviously been a nice team out there, along with the New York Mets. So one of those teams should be able to make the playoffs, but still, this is a very stacked lineup, and this is a stacked just division in general. And for the San Francisco Giants, Matt Chapman, the fact that he's been able to give you about 350 on base, that's pretty rock solid. And for the Washington Nationals, a little bit more of a top-heavy lineup. You're going to need to get a bit more out of Josh Bell, Dylan Cruz. These guys aren't necessarily the world's worst power hitters, but they're just not finding a way on base. Both hitting below the Bedell line 200. CJ Abrams, 8 home runs, hitting above a 300. You've been able to have James Wood, Givey Goodwood, north of 370 on base. He's been able to supply this team with 12-plus home runs as well. And for Mackenzie Gore, he's, in my opinion, been one of the more unlucky pitchers in all of baseball. You take a look at that fielding independent, it's about a full point lower than his ERA that hovers in that neighborhood about 3.4, 3.5, and with Mackenzie Gore, 13-plus strikeouts per 9 innings. He's done an okay job of being able to keep the ball in the yard as well. He sometimes gives up a little bit too much hard contact, but I do like the way that he's been able to perform this season. I do think that in the end, the Giants, they just dive in that Nationals bullpen. That is the big issue that I have. I like Mackenzie Gore. I think that Mackenzie Gore gives you a good start. I think that the Washington Nationals bullpen lets you down, and the Giants, they're able to get just a surge of runs late in this game. So I did set my total at 8.2. I'm going to be willing to take a shot on the over. And with this Giants team, right around about -110 or so is the max. So I'm going to be willing to lay on the money line, but I'm going to be willing to lay that money line as well. And how about if we do touch upon this game as well, as we've got ourselves a game between the New York Yankees, and they're going to be taking on the Colorado Rockies. And man, for the Colorado Rockies. Just rough to say the least. Tanner Gordon is going to be getting the start. This was supposed to be Chase Dollander, but Dollander now on the injured list going against Clark Schmidt and the New York Yankees. The question becomes, how can you cheaply fade the Colorado Rockies? I think that the answers is totals. If you think that the Colorado Rockies have a pitcher out there that's just going to give up 10-plus runs, and as strange as that is to say, they've got pitchers that are that bad. Looking at you, Antonio Sensatella, you're starting to take a look at overs. If you think that things could be a little bit more respectable, you take a shot on the under because this Rockies team, they're just not scoring themselves like in this one. I did write this up for the VSiN website. I'm going to be in on the under. Even though Clark Schmidt, a relatively, shall we say, average pitcher out there in all of baseball, that's just me fading the Colorado Rockies there, and I would be willing to lay a massive run line with the Yankees. Starting to find that as high as a -3.5, and what else we're high on, being able to get you guys some picks for Friday. Let's take a look at the best bets that we've got on the card for this Friday right here on Cashing Out on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
If your job at a healthcare facility includes disinfecting against viruses, you know prevention is the best medicine. And maintaining healthy spaces starts with a healthy cleaning routine. Grainger's world-class supply chain helps ensure you have the quality products you need when you need them. From disinfectants and cleaning supplies to personal protective equipment, so you can help deliver a clean bill of health. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
It's the final segment of the night right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, for Cashing Out. Coming up after myself, you're going to be getting a replay of this fine program if you're listening live. Meanwhile, if you're listening to the replay, it is going to be VSiN by the books coming your way at 4 o'clock a.m. Pacific, 7 o'clock a.m. Eastern. Unlike yesterday, I will not be making the turnaround, going from the late night show and being the first guest on the early morning show, which that was a lot of fun right there. I always like to be able to do it. I was able to make it on 3 straight shows, and like I said, this is a fourth different suit that you're seeing here on the network me wear in the last 29 hours. So that's a badge of honor right there. We always like to be all suited up, and we're all suited up for what we're going to be getting in terms of a tremendous Friday here in sports in general, as we've got ourselves some NBA playoffs, we've got ourselves some NHL playoffs, and we've got all 30 teams in action in baseball, 16 games, because we did have the rainout in Baltimore versus the Boston Red Sox, so we're going to be getting a double dip. So how about if we do start to dive in with regards to what we're seeing on the NHL front, because personally, I'm not necessarily too much of an NHL guy. That said, if I were to take a look at what we're getting in terms of Oilers versus Dallas Stars, I know that sounds very simple, but I'd be taking a look at the Dallas Stars simply because I just don't believe in Stuart Skinner right now. With Stuart Skinner just absolutely had a rough third period against this Dallas Stars team, and I just believe that the Dallas Stars, they've been able to figure something out here in the playoffs. The toughest series for them was that first series against the Colorado Avalanche, where they were dealing with all those injuries. They had to find a way to be able to persevere. They did so with that hat trick in the third period. That was absolutely remarkable what we saw on that front, and now that they've been able to get all of their, shall we say, allotment of pieces fully healthy, I do think that they're starting to be able to show a little bit more of something there, and I do think that that total of 6.5 might be just a skosh too high, just because with the Dallas Stars, they do a good job with Jake Ottinger in net as well. I recognize that the Oilers are a little bit more of an attacking team, but I will be taking a look at things normalizing a little bit more in terms of this one, so we'll be looking at that under, and we'll be looking at the Dallas Stars there. In terms of the NBA, it's just very simple for my handicap in terms of the Indiana Pacers and the New York Knicks. I do think that the offense is going to be starting to dry up a little bit more for the Indiana Pacers rather than game number 1. And if Aaron Nesmith goes 8 of 9 from 3-point range, Aaron Nesmith goes 3 of 9 from 3-point range, you tip your hat to him and you say congratulations on becoming the next form of Steph Curry. Insert your favorite 3-point shooter there, because I mean, that's just absolutely remarkable what you're able to find on that front. But I do think that you can take a look at some, shall we say, player props under. Like, I'm taking a look at Tyrese Halliburton. He is over for regards to threes. You're able to get the 3 over at -150, and if you go under, you're able to get some relatively good plus money. Like, I think that that's something that you do want to be taking a look at, just being able to get these plus money unders for these guys that I think are going to regress a little bit from game number 1. Aaron Nesmith, I think, is going to start to have a little bit more of a rough performance. if I'm looking at an over, I do think that Josh Hart is actually going to be able to give you a really good game. I know that he had some post-game comments after what we saw in game number 1 about just the shell-shocking in general that you saw there. He had a double-figure amount of points in game number 1. I think that this could be a relatively nice bounce back. And if I were to look at one guy on the Pacers for an over with regards to their player prop, I think Ben Mathurin comes off the bench. He's able to give you a little bit more. I think that some of the, shall we say, ancillary guys for the Indiana Pacers are going to have some regression here in game number 2, but the guys that do experience a regression, they lead for a little bit more for Benedict Mathurin to be able to give you a bit more production. And Obi Toppin was able to give you a few buckets in that overtime period as well, a few nice putbacks. I think with more misses, he could be able to see a few more opportunities as well. So those are the two guys I'd be looking at a little bit more for the over. And if you're looking at just a few unders in general, certainly the threes prop of Tyrese Halliburton, that's a place where I'd be looking. I also do think that with Miles Turner, going to be a little bit tough for him to be able to get much here, as I do think that Karl Anthony Towns just a little bit better in that battle as well. So this is going to be a game that I'm going to be betting live. Whichever team is getting down and whichever team I'm able to get a little bit of a better number on live rather than prior to the start of the game, probably going to be a team that gets my money here. And what should be getting your attention is everything that is happening over at GBank. They're not getting your money, you're getting their money, because you're able to get the trifecta from GBank that is worth $500 in total. All you need to do is open up a GBank Visa signature card, and in the first 90 days, deposit and play through $1,000 over at First Bet to trigger a $500 trifecta. You'll receive $200 in cashback rewards on your GBank signature card. First Bet will give you a $100 deposit match, and VSiN completes the trifecta with a free VSiN Pro subscription through August 31st. That is a $200 value. That gives you $500 total in terms of three great entities over at GBank, First Bank, and VSiN. Head on over to vsin.com/GBank. That is VSIN.com/GBank to be able to claim this offer. This is a one-time promotion that is limited to customers opening up a new account in response to this offer, and this will not apply to requests to convert existing accounts. Apply today over at the terms and conditions. They are up there on the website as well. And how about if we do dive in on what we're getting on this tremendous baseball slate? And we do have a day game on this Friday. Thank goodness gracious. It was looking like we weren't going to get one, but because of the rain out that we saw on Thursday, we get ourselves some day baseball. And we've got ourselves the Orioles and the Red Sox with regards to that day baseball game. Not going to break down the Lucas Giolito matchup because we don't know who's going for the Baltimore Orioles. That's going to be the Game 2 matchup. But in terms of Game 1, Kapovich, Brian Bayo, right now with the Red Sox right around about -122, -130 favorites. Total is 9. For the Orioles, they've actually been very lackluster with regards to their offense when they've been away from home. Away from home, they're only averaging about 3.8, 3.9 runs per contest, but Brian Bayo has been giving up darn near 4.5 to 5 walks per 9 innings. His ERA is a 4.02, fielding independent, more than a full point higher. And for Kapovich, north of a 6 career ERA when he's away from home. He has been a whole lot better when he's been in Baltimore rather than away from home. It's a Orioles lineup that just in general has left something to be desired as well. You've had Ryan O'Hearn do a solid job being able to move line, give you darn near 400 on base. He's been able to supply the team with 8+ home runs this season, and Cedric Mullins is up to 10 home runs as well, but you're just not getting a lot out of Adley Rutschman, as Sinclair said. These two guys can get 225 or lower. And then for Boston, you've had Rafael Devers reach a double-figure amount of homers. Now with Rafael Devers, he hasn't reached for a glove in quite some time, but you know what? Guy is now starting to get the job done at the plate. You've got Wilder Abreu, Alex Bregman being able to give you 11+ homers, and for the Orioles, I think that it was a little bit big that they were able to have the rain out on Thursday because they were coming off an 11-inning game against the Milwaukee Brewers, so that bullpen was a little bit toast. Now they're going to be a little bit more, shall we say, rested and good to go. Felix Bautista has been rock solid in that bullpen, but even with that rested bullpen, they are still a bullpen that is in the bottom 6 in the big leagues in terms of runs or ERA, so I do think that that's a bit of an issue. And for the Red Sox, it's a bullpen that you just never know when Aroldis Chapman is going to be failing you, but that said, I do think that they're going to be able to do a better job here. I do think that the Red Sox are doing for some positivity with all the one-run losses that they've had this season, so going to be taking a shot on the Red Sox here. I felt like they should have been closer to about a -150 or so favorite, and do like that total of 9 over as well. Something else I like is the Cincinnati Reds. Yes, we are on to Cincinnati, playing against the Chicago Cubs, and the Reds are right now a very slight underdog against the Cubs. Total is 8.5. With Hunter Green, it's going to be his first start in about 2.5 weeks. He spent a little bit of time banged up. They skipped a few starts for him, so they were able to do him a solid, but I think that he's going to be able to pick up right where he left off prior to being out these last few weeks, as he's been able to give you in that neighborhood about 12 strikeouts per 9 innings. Really lethal stuff. And for Matthew Boyd, he's been able to supply a sub-3 ERA thus far this season, so he's been able to do a nice job for a Cubs team that has really been lethal with regards to their offense. A team that's averaging north of 5.5 runs per contest, right there at the top of the National League in terms of runs per game, and Pete Crow Armstrong has been a big reason why. 12 plus home runs thus far this season. Say Suzuki, guys like that have been able to do a nice job. And then on the flip side, you've got a Cincinnati Reds team that has L.A. De La Cruz, who's able to reach base at any time. I think that they're going to continue to get healthier and healthier as things go along as well. But that said, I do think that with regards to the Cincinnati Reds team, that they're going to be able to get a lot of production in terms of L.A. De La Cruz and what he's able to bring to the table. And when it comes to what you're going to be able to get in terms of the just middle of the lineup, being able to have guys like TJ Friedel be able to move line, being able to get a little bit more out of Gavin Lux, who's been able to give you a 375 on base. That's big. And for this Reds team, a little bit of mixing and matching in terms of that lineup. I do think that they find a way to be able to get the job done here. And with Hunter Green, this being his first start back, might be a little bit more limited, but I've liked what I've seen out of that bullpen. And for the Cubs, they've been dealing with a lot of bullpen issues as well, because they've been having a few guys in and out of the lineup with regards to that bullpen as well. So I'm going to be taking a look at the Reds in this spot. And I do think that Hunter Green holds it down. I'm going to be willing to take a shot on the under. I'm going to be willing to take a shot on this one as well. The Mets money line. You got Griffin Canning, who's going to be going up against Clayton Kershaw. Clayton Kershaw, second start of the season. Start number one just was not good for him. And I just don't know if we're ever going to see vintage Clayton Kershaw. Griffin Canning, meanwhile, sub 2.5 ERA, doing a nice job pulling it down for the New York Mets. Mets are right now at even money at home for the LA Dodgers. They have to travel from west to east. I think that this is a very good circumstance for them. I think that the Mets continue to get Griffin Canning to, some people will say overperform. I think that he's just finding his true form, because this Mets pitching staff and this Mets just coaching staff with regards to their pitchers, they've been able to do a great job of being able to get these guys around in form. So do like the Mets on the money line, and I do like that total over as well. What else I love? The fact that we've got a stacked lineup here at VSiN for this Friday. It starts with VSiN by the books at 7 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time. Gil Alexander with the numbers game at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern. And then Money Moves with John Von Tobel and company. That's going to be coming your way at noon. We got you covered in terms of all the playoff action, all the baseball action, and so much more right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
If your job at a healthcare facility includes disinfecting against viruses, you know prevention is the best medicine. And maintaining healthy spaces starts with a healthy cleaning routine. Grainger's world-class supply chain helps ensure you have the quality products you need when you need them. From disinfectants and cleaning supplies to personal protective equipment, so you can help deliver a clean bill of health. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.